Welcome back to Senior Savvy Cannabis. I'm Catherine Goldberg, and today we're joined by Freya Dobson, who is the co-founder of Hudson Cannabis Company in New York. Hi, Freya. Thank you for being with us. I appreciate it.
Hi, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. First of all, we've really only focused on the West Coast. So, for our listeners who are kind of brand new to cannabis and living in New York, can you tell us about Hudson Cannabis Company and how it came to be? I think there might be a family story in there too.
Yes, of course. So I am one of the co-founders of Hudson Cannabis. We founded Hudson Cannabis as Hudson Hemp in 2017. We were one of the first farms in the states to grow hemp legally before the Farm Bill passed. So we received a pilot. Under the pilot program, we received a permit. And from 2017 to 2021, we grew organic CBD rich hemp on our farm and processed it for CBD and other minor cannabinoids, and had two in-house brands as well as white labeled for and distributed for other brands. But ultimately, that led us to receiving our license in 2022 to grow adult use recreational cannabis for the New York market, which was always our goal. As the hemp industry became overly saturated, we really saw the potential of hemp leading us to recreational cannabis, which for my family has pretty deep ties. My dad has been an organic grower, primarily of market vegetables, but he also has always grown cannabis since the 80s. He brought back seeds from Mendocino when he was in his early 20s, and he cultivated those seeds and created, some of his own genetics in upstate New York and then in the Berkshires where I grew up. So our farm is actually about 30 minutes from where my dad first grew cannabis on the East Coast. So all
Full
of this
circle.
sort of comes back to our father. And then my brother has managed the farm that we're on now since 2012, 2013. He converted it to a regenerative organic system that we adhere to today. And then my sister and I are on the everyday ops of the company. My sister's the CEO. I run our field marketing team and work in New York City sales, and have really spearheaded all of our education in dispensaries and bringing people to the farm for tours, etc.
I love it. I love that the backstory is so much cooler than I even imagined. I had no idea about your dad with the seeds and the genetics. That's pretty cool. I love how we talk a lot about how big industry has kind of come into cannabis and sucked the life and spirit out of it. And it's so nice to hear stories like this where it's not just a family operation, but it's spanning back decades and kind of honoring that really rich history of what cannabis cultivation was always about. Um,
Yeah.
so cool. So tell me about the products that you offer for the New York market. And I'm curious if any of those products are related to the original strains that your dad kind of cultivated.
That's a good question.
It's okay if the answer is no, by the way. Things
The answer is no to that. But sorry, what was the first part of your question?
what are the we had a podcast the other day with someone who makes gummies, someone who sells pills. It
Yes,
sounds
yes,
like
yes. Okay,
you
the
guys sell
Hudson
flour.
Cannabis product line. Yeah. Well, I'll just mention that. So we launched our product line in almost exactly 2 years ago to the day. It was, I think, February 13th was our first delivery to Union Square Travel Agency in New York City, which was the second legal dispensary that opened in the state after Housing Works. And and just to give you a little landscape of that time, because I don't know how familiar Californians are with what happened in New York, but it was pretty messy because they had licensed a number of farms in 2022 to grow cannabis. And by the time we had finished our first harvest, there was not a single open dispensary. So the first dispensary opened in December of 2022, and it was just one dispensary. And so you had like, I don't know, over 100 farms maybe that were sitting on product with nowhere to sell it.
Oh my God.
And it was a very slow rollout in the state. I mean, now it's that's not the problem. I just heard today it's there's a 300 stores in the state. So it's definitely, there's a number of places to sell product now, but it was really tough for farmers, especially people that had poured like their whole like life savings and family's money, or investments from friends because you can't get loans like into this, and then they had nowhere to sell the product. So anyway, we were lucky enough to get in the door of travel agency, which set us up for success. But we launched in the market with dime bags, just in two strains. We'd launched in Papa Smurf and Gelato. And that still is kind of like our claim to fame is dime bags. Like we're
For
most
people who
known.
don't know, sorry, what is a dime bag?
A dime bag. Well, the funny thing is like there's a little bit of debate about the quantity in a dime bag.
Okay.
It can be like anywhere between point 5 grams to a gram of flour, but it's always supposed to be $10 out, like, I mean, to your dealer. Like when I was a teenager, we used to buy
Back
a
in
lot
the
of
day.
bags. And that was really like it was my sister who was like, we're gonna launch with dime bags because like it will be that way. Anybody who goes into a dispensary wanting to smoke will be able to try our flower because it's a $10 product. Um, and and it was a great way to launch into the market because no one else was doing dimes. And it set us up to then also launch ounces and 3-ounce bags, which were the legal limit. And that year we had a lot of excess flour that we needed to move because there was nowhere to sell it. So it's like a perfect combination to sell a dime bag and then a larger format in the same strain because you can try the product for $10. And then if you like it, you can go back and buy an ounce or yeah. So that's how we launched in the market with a dime bag. And it's really neat too because our packaging, you've always been able to see through the dime bag, so you can like see the flower, which is unique, and makes people, either like want to try it because they can already see it before they smoke it, or buy it. And yeah, so we started with dimes, but now we've grown a lot. We not only have our product line Hudson Cannabis, but we also manufacture and distribute for a number of partner brands that are in other states as well. 1906 and Lowell, to name two of them. Lowell's from California.
You've been working with Lowell since the beginning. They go back over a decade.
Yes. So Lowell. They're a New York partner. And George, who purchased the company from the previous owners and is the CEO, he actually lives like 15 minutes from our farm. Like like he already was living there before he was our partner.
Amazing. So like totally meant to be.
Yes. And the previous COO of Lowell, Lucas Seymour, is actually our COO now. So it's been like we've kind of, it's so funny too, because I used to live in California and like right before I moved back east, since we founded Hudson Hemp, my sister and I lived out in California. And I remember Lowell being like the first product that I bought from a dispensary that I was like, whoa, this is so beautiful. Cause I was like 21 and it was my first time in, a dispensary.
And just to tell everyone the beauty of Lowell products, to go back in time a little bit, it was the first packaged pre-roll pack that was similar to a cigarette box, where yes. but a different design, a different tactile sensation. So you would open this box and then inside would be 10 beautifully rolled individual joints. There would be like matches. There would be like a little match thing to do. So it was the first time kind of an elegance came into the branding in cannabis. And Lowell also offered, they had energizing strains, they had a sleepy strain, they had a box for being creative. So it really was effects based before anyone else was doing effects.
Exactly.
So cool. So I love how like there it's funny because our previous podcast we had Peter from 1906 and
Oh, yes. So
love
he's our
him,
partner in New York as well.
love him. So we really explored the novel mechanisms that they're using to distribute cannabis, not only from how it works in our bodies, but this idea that you could purchase online. um
Yes. Yep. With the direct to consumer line. Yeah.
which is fascinating. So it sounds like though for your more traditional product, this must be purchased in a dispensary in New York. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. So
Okay,
Hudson Cannabis is New York founded and distributed only. We are not in other states and we don't plan to expand to other states.
cool. Because you just
Yeah.
want to do it well and right.
Yeah, I mean, our whole mission has always been about regenerative farming, and how we grow our product is an expression of how good the product is, and we're really excited to see like how we can expand that to the New York market and create real education and legitimacy of outdoor grown in regenerative living soil and why that matters and why that creates a premium product that people will ultimately,
Come back to you over.
come back to over and over again, and also understand why they're maybe paying a slightly more for it. I know for California, like there's been a lot of people in that movement, and it's been I'd be curious from your perspective, but that's maybe an offline conversation of like how successful it's been. Because I know when I worked there, it was really like fraught a bit, the like craft growers with the big guys who were this for the price was just plummeting. So, and I worry about New York in that way because already, we're seeing that happening. And we're having buyers ask us, why our prices are this price when they can buy, you know, the same product for much lower.
Yeah. So
So,
let's just take one step. And I think people, the people who, and maybe this is not a perfect example, but the people who shop at Whole Foods understand that maybe you're paying a little bit more because we want the organic vegetables. Okay, no problem. I could go to Save Less or Save More or whatever that store is called, and I could probably buy everything for 10% less. But I risk contaminants. I don't know where it came from. I'd rather pay a little bit more for the peace of mind. And like we talked about off camera, I recently, the LA Times did a deep dive into the products on the California market that were cleared by their COAs to be safe, and they were in fact actually not safe. So because of mold and various contaminants. So I'm curious how your style of gardening um, maintains the integrity of the product and how you're able to like keep the pests away, that the pests that aren't supposed to be there, so
yeah.
that you can sell such a unadulterated product when that's something that we don't have in the market here. You have to go find a grower if you want that out in California.
Like you aren't going into a dispensary and finding that as much.
It's just not there because they don't sell, and the eighths are $23 out the door, and it's
Yeah.
good enough, and that's what
That's
we settle for.
commodification of cannabis.
It's
Yeah.
it's terrible.
It's unfortunate. It's interesting because when I worked in California, I interned at this organization that was all about like keeping sun-grown craft growers in the industry in California. And I don't know what happened with them, but it was like all they were trying to do, like a lot of policy work and advocation and education. anyway.
I
But
think
it's
consumer, that's the thing is, because it can sound disheartening, I think, to people listening. The thing is, we vote with our dollars. So, I think we do have a little bit more control over what we think because, you know, I can search for the right product and I could drive a bit and I could get it. But the fact it's like fast food. I think that's kind of where we are, that it's like we're having
oh,
this new
that's really
sweet.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. So
Yes. So, well, sorry to answer your question. I think you asked like how we ensure like our products, how we ensure like our growing practices that we're then treating for potential molds or mites or all the other issues
exactly.
that can come up. So what we really focus on at our farm and what we've been doing for over a decade is building this living soil network. So we implement growing practices such as cover cropping, rotational grazing, rotating our beds. We've been building our own compost and which is what's going into the soil since the beginning. So, and we've also been tracking through a partner organization that has been on the farm called Hudson Carbon, the actual changes of the soil since we've been there and how much carbon we've been able to sequester and the changes in the soil since we've been farming this way, which, after a decade, you're really able to see significant change. So we really believe like if you have this healthy living soil network that's of soil that's alive, then you are having to do a lot less to your plants because your plants are getting a lot of what they need through the soil. So that's like first and foremost. Then we do quote unquote like spray our plants throughout the season, depending on because we've definitely faced like issues, specifically in the Northeast where the weather is a lot more volatile and unpredictable than out west. I mean, you have fires, unfortunately, and we don't have that as much. Although we had a little this year, which was quite scary to see on the East Coast. But we face more like some summers it's raining all of August or like every other day, and so you're like dealing with way too much water and drainage. So we do find natural remedies to spray on our plants depending on what's going on. But we always are like then flushing the plant, so to speak, so that none of that is in the final product. And New York has like really high standards and regulations as far as testing goes. I could share with you our COAs so you can see like all the panels of testing that each product goes through to be able to go into a dispensary. And we're not able to sell a product into a dispensary without that COA. So it is very thorough. And you're not able to like sell product that has any mold or heavy metals or microtoxins that might be harmful to a human. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does, and it just kind of really illustrates the difference in care that you guys put into the process. From every step of the way, because I haven't heard of any other commercial brand utilizing living soil. That's what connoisseurs do who grow at home, who like don't go to the dispensaries. So
yeah, I know it's unique.
it's really unique. And I'll do after we release the podcast, we'll do kind of a deep dive for people who want to know more about living soil, because that really is a huge turning point, I think, in cannabis cultivation.
Yeah.
So so let's just end on, what would you like our audience, who are mature seniors, to know about cannabis? Let's say they see it in the Wall Street Journal, they see it in the New York Times, they have a feeling it's going to help them, but let's say they've never smoked before in their life, nor have they ever visited a dispensary. Like, is there like a buddy system? What do you do?
It's such a good question. Um, well, I would say, well, for some of those listeners, yeah, maybe going alone sounds scary. So bring a friend who might also be curious. However, I feel like then some people like to do things alone that they feel like are taboo. So maybe, maybe
Go
going
either
alone.
way, depending
You
on
go
your
either way,
philosophical bent.
depending on the type of person you are. But my recommendation with cannabis for new users, or folks that haven't maybe smoked since they were in college is, and I recommend this with any substance or anything that you're trying for the first time, is to start low and go slow. So, if you're not a smoker, that's where 1906 is such a great line because it's a low dose edible, very precision and targeted. If you are a smoker, you don't want to get something that has 30% THC.
You do not.
Start Yes, start like ask what the lowest, that's not a very popular question in New York right now, but yeah, ask what's the lowest THC content, what's a strain that you have that might have another cannabinoid in it. We all have this endocannabinoid system in our body, and the combination of cannabinoids with one another make make it a more holistic experience in the body. So THC can feel very cerebral and heady at high doses, even if it's an indica. It could be too much of like a couch lock high. But if you have, if start with maybe a hybrid, and then if you can find a strain that has another cannabinoid in it, I'm not as privy to the California market, or if your listeners are in New York as well. But yeah, I would say always, start low, go slow, take one hit for the first time, see how you feel.
Yeah, put it
Then
down,
you can put
walk
it down.
away.
You can always increase your dose, but you can't decrease it once you've taken something. So I always just say like, yeah, that's my motto. And it might not hit the first time as far as like finding your dose or your product, but I would say I wouldn't say there's something for everyone, because it says cannabis isn't for everyone, but I would say for a lot of people who have ailments, specifically pain or insomnia or no appetite, or even anxiety, cannabis can help them. And I've witnessed that firsthand for myself and with other people, that our products have really assisted or can make things like also more fun and exciting or dreamlike, or like flirtatious. Like we've had, we've on some of our strains, people have like to smoke them and like go to a party or go dancing or listen to music. So that's really the really cool thing about cannabis, is it's so diverse in how it can make you feel, and for how you might want to alter a feeling space. And so it's not just like one size fits all. There's many different ways to experience it.
Absolutely. I love that. And I'll just ask you a quick last question because I'm curious.
Yeah.
For the products that you're currently selling on the market right now, what is the because when you go into a California dispensary, the label will be like 35% THC.
Yeah.
And whether that's true or not, I don't want it because that's not going to make me feel good. What I tell my audience usually to start with is to ask for something that's under 20% THC.
Yeah, that's my speed too.
Yeah, because and then the thing is, if you want something under 10%, you're really going to have to go searching for it.
Right.
Which is unfortunate because they're that low THC with the other cannabinoids is sort of the secret sauce to a lot of this.
For me, it's my secret sauce, but unfortunately, it's
Oh,
not what sells.
no. So, which is very frustrating.
I
So
know.
what is your like starter strain? I mean in terms of
Mm,
which strain has maybe the lowest THC content?
well, we are very much a craft. We're very much like a craft farm as far as like it's not like we just grow like 3 strains and just have those on the menu. So their strains rotate. I can tell you
I love that.
right now what is would be a good starter strain on the menu.
And how often do they rotate? Like every season or so?
So the way we roll out products throughout a season, which is really like I mean, we're selling all year round. But not all of our strains are grown at our farm in Hudson Cannabis. We don't have enough of a growing area or license to accommodate. So we source from partner farms that don't have often their own brands, but they adhere to our same growing practices because they are like craft growers, some of which have come from California, some of which are New York farmers. So we have like a whole department or one fellow who handles procurement for us. But as far as like our strain lineup, for example, we grew last season about 15 strains, and we are staggering the launch of those strains. We don't just launch them all at once. So that's all to say that it's not all on our menu right now, what we grew this past growing season.
Such a different way of talking about cannabis, and I love it.
Well, and it also makes people understand that it's a plant, and it's not just like we have endless access to one strain. Because often I'll go into a dispensary and they'll be like, "When are you getting the King Kong back?" Or and I'm like, "We ran through it this like that was it," you know. And they kind of realize like, "Oh, it's not just an endless supply. Like
it's not Coca-Cola." Yeah, it's not. You can't go. You can't go order.
Just like make it.
Yeah.
Wait, we'll have to wait. And you know, it's amazing. I just mentioned King Kong because that's been our most popular strain, and we grew it our very first year. Didn't grow it our second year, but people would still ask me about it. Like a year plus later, we grew it this last season, and it's on. Actually, we might have sold through it. I think we just have it in our moonwalkers now and our vape carts. But yeah, we then grew King Kong, and it was like for the people that knew, they were like so psyched to have it back.
That's amazing. Yeah. I feel like that's like the human element of the cannabis community too. Even if you're on the business side of it, or if you're on the consumer side, there's community.
For sure. So I will, but I'll just very quickly say that if you're in New York and you wanted to try our product and you were new to cannabis, I would say to try our sour stomper flower. We have that in eighths, or our farmer's blend, which is always a blend of flower, which we have in grounds. Or if you don't want to roll your own and you don't know how, I would get our natural wine strain, which comes in a 7-pack of pre-rolls.
Love it. Just like Lowell, I think.
Yes, it's close to Lowell, but different rolling style. Okay. And ours are a 7-pack, and the Lowells we sell right now are a 6-pack.
Amazing. Well, it was a pleasure I feel like we only skimmed the surface.
No.
Hopefully we can have another conversation down the line where we can talk more about the other products you guys offer. Didn't even know you had vape carts.
We have many different products.
Love it. So I will include links for our audience to the dispensaries that carry you guys. My audience knows that if they want to try a product, I will go and call the dispensary and tell them that our person is coming in and to be ready for them, and to make sure everyone has a really good experience. So I can't wait for our audience to try Hudson Cannabis. And I got to get out to New York to try it, because
come on over.
It sounds a lot better than what we're growing, to be perfectly honest. Not to
well, we'd come out this summer or fall. We'd love to have you at the farm and give you a tour, and then we can take you to some local dispensaries and you can see the product on the shelf.
I love it. We'll do a video tour.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, amazing. Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Freya. You're amazing. And I love your family, because you guys are really honestly repairing the world. And thank you for doing this, and, continuing on this tradition in a way that's not easy.
No, it's not, but we will keep staying strong and advocating for sun-grown organic cannabis, grown by real people.
we will push that message as well because people need to hear it, and that's what needs to go on a billboard. So thank you so much for your time, and
Thank you, Catherine.
we'll be in touch. Hopefully we'll do this again.
Talk soon.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.